Welcome to Geopolitics in Conflict Breaking News. What's the issue, Elizabeth?
So today's issue is something that is still developing, but we thought it was really important to bring it to your attention especially because of what just transpired with OPEC. But the Biden administration is thinking about shutting down one of the major pipelines coming from Canada into the United States, oil pipelines.
Yeah, well,
line number 5.
Indeed, the reports are coming out of Washington pertaining to this, that the Biden administration is about to shut down that pipeline. It's almost like all what's going on right now with the increase in energy hasn't even made sense to the administration to think in terms of what are we going to do to fix the problem. The holidays is coming closer. Okay, American families now will be spending more money on energy than they did the year before. Let alone, with the pandemic and all the economy, how it's shut down, over 100 million people lost their jobs. And a decision like this makes you wonder who's advising the president on this stuff.
Well, so if you would like to watch a little bit of a video, let's see, I don't have it. Do I have it? I don't. I have another one.
And just to let our viewers know, this pipeline has been sort of providing oil since 1953. You're talking about 500,000 barrels a day, 500,000 barrels of oil a day that comes in. All of a sudden, you are going to be taking out 500,000 barrels of oil. What that's going to do to the prices.
All right, so let's play this video really quick. This is the Energy Secretary, Jennifer Granholm, talking about what's happening.
Should Americans in what will likely be a cold winter, most of them are, expect to pay higher prices for heating their homes?
Yeah, this is going to happen. It will be more expensive this year than last year.
Should Americans in what will likely be a cold winter, most of them are, expect to pay higher?
Wow. It's almost like, what is she? She's out of touch. She doesn't understand.
Very out of touch. Yes.
She doesn't understand that average families cannot afford.
Well, and especially if we're looking at what's happening with inflation right now, with basic necessities being substantially more expensive. Not only does this pipeline, if it is shut down, not only does it take away that oil, it also takes, let's see, it would cost tens of thousands of jobs, billions of dollars in economic activity, and further exacerbate shortages and price increases hitting especially the lower income. And that's something that I want to bring up, is that, it's the lowest income that's being hit by this. And I want to do another video a little bit later on about the fact that greenhouse emissions are substantially higher among the top 5% of wealthy people than the entire rest of the poor and middle class combined. And that's something that's not being talked about either.
Yeah. So which means there are no policies there.
No,
there's no alternative, which is ridiculous. And this is what I don't understand. Just to take a step back and think about it logically. Where is the logic in doing this? Then you go overseas and beg OPEC Plus for increasing production. It just doesn't make any sense. I know last time I mentioned about removing or taking $100 billion out of the Department of Defense and build refineries. I understand the argument. This is not going to happen tomorrow.
No.
Building a refinery, you'll be looking at about 4 years. But at least we are thinking long term. But on the other hand, we do have another alternative.
What is that alternative?
Is tapping into strategic oil reserves.
Yes.
Why we have the reserves for?
I agree.
Now you're shutting down the pipe. 500 million barrel of oil out of the market. Price is going to jack up. Family is going to be squeezed beyond what they can afford. And this is why they always say, so funny, how they always say the poor people spend money, middle class save it, and rich invest it. So it's to me, it's really, I was bothered this morning when I saw the headline because I didn't understand the logic of it. What would you want to shut down a pipeline under this kind of circumstances?
And under normal circumstances, what the administration is saying is that there are Native American groups and there are ecological groups that are sort of fighting to shut the pipeline down. And ultimately, I don't. Even the dog agrees.
Yeah, you do agree, right?
Ultimately, I don't disagree necessarily with us as a planet moving away from fossil fuels. But the question is, why was nothing put in place before all of these pipelines were shut down to sort of mitigate the gap that's forming in the need for energy and what's coming in with oil?
Yeah, well, that's like any other plan. Before you implement Plan B,
Right.
or before you take Plan A, you already
Yeah.
have a Plan B in motion,
Right.
whatever. So, but this one here, it's really touching now on more other aspects of the U.S. Economy.
Yeah.
In addition to the debt ceiling that now is going to be a showdown in Congress towards the end of
Yep.
the year. In
Yeah.
addition to the national debt, which already is
Through
skyrocketing.
the roof.
In addition to the unemployment for the Americans who live in jobs now, over 100
Right.
million people.
Right.
I mean, you're talking about how do they expect an average American family to survive in this kind of conditions?
I don't know, and I feel like that's a wonderful point, and it's important to bring up because it feels like it's coming from everywhere. It feels like the pressure on the American people, and I know a lot of you are not in the States, for you to understand, I guess, a little bit that, the American family is feeling a lot of pressure from a lot of places right now. And it feels like it's coming from everywhere. It feels like you can't heat your home during the winter, and winter is coming here. And, you can't buy food as much as you could. And now there's less things to buy because of the supply chain issues, which are still happening. They're not talking about them as much, but they are still happening.
No, this is why the discrepancy in the. I mean, I was livid when I heard the statement coming out of the White House by the assistant press secretary, not James Psaki, whatever her name is.
Yeah.
Is the other individual. I forgot her name. So, but anyway, when they are saying the economy is doing great, the economy is not doing great. I mean, let's stop pretending. Inflation at 2%. Inflation was at about 5.3 a couple months ago.
Yeah.
So what are they coming up with this information from? And for what? You can't be lying like this to the American people, knowing how it's the average family that is feeling this. The rich is not going to bother with it.
Yeah.
Look no further than how our tax system is structured.
Oh my goodness.
And you are taxing the middle class between 28 to 35.
Yeah.
And the millionaires and billionaires don't have to pay for it.
And they don't. And we all know that they don't pay taxes. Every American family, or most, if you're paying attention at all, knows that the top wealthiest people don't pay taxes. And that's a very challenging position to come from, if you're making a very average income here, to be taxed to that extent is very challenging.
Yeah, the administration, and we're not blaming Democrats or whatever. No. That's beside the point. The idea is the way I look at it is we don't have people who can govern.
Agreed.
That's where the problem. Agreed. And you know what it reminds me of?
What?
It reminds me of the beginning of the United States, when it just was in the process of forming.
Okay.
Because Benjamin Franklin was asked.
Yeah.
When people were waiting outside, said, "What did you guys talk about inside?" You know what was his answer?
What?
He said, "Why are you guys going to have a republic if you can keep it?"
Oh, wow. Well, there's a book called The Fourth Turning that a lot of people have started to talk about. And, basically that we're going in cycles, right? Governments sort of go in cycles. And this is the end of a cycle. And I think that that's a really appropriate quote.
Well, in my readings, I did learn that usually the shelf life is about 83 years.
Yeah.
We've been about 75 years at the helm.
Yeah.
So we're coming closer to this. And this is where you see this, this geopolitical shifts taking place.
It is.
Our tensions, economic that is, usually is a reflection of the poor foreign policy, of the poor decisions, of the poor policies that, politicians in Washington, they are thinking in terms of next quarter.
Right.
They're not thinking long term.
Yeah.
And who end up being suffered,
Mhm.
or who end up suffering
Yeah.
into the process is the average American family.
And, I feel like it's not just the average American family, because our foreign policy has not been very good either.
Yeah.
And so it's not just the Americans that are suffering because of this. But, Biden's approval rate is at 38%, which is extremely low. And our vice president, Kamala Harris, hers, I think, is at 22 or 28%.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very low.
Speaking of the VP,
Yeah.
didn't she go to Europe recently?
Yeah.
To talk to European about immigration?
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're not laughing at it, Elizabeth. You're laughing out of concerns.
Man.
That's
Huge
usually
concern.
when we laugh.
Yes,
That's what we meant.
yes.
It's how
you
her
laugh so you don't cry.
Exactly. I mean, why are we going over spending taxpayers' money
Yeah.
to talk to them about an issue that we couldn't fix ourselves?
No.
We got our own issues, immigration at the border here.
Oh, huge.
So
issues.
why aren't we fixing our
Huge
own?
issues.
And this is what I don't understand, to go back to your point about foreign policy, because American foreign policy is so fragmented.
Yes.
I've been saying this for
Yeah.
the last 6, 7, 8 years.
Yeah.
Gone. And this is not what you start to question. Do we have elements that can, when I say elements, I'm referring to officials that can govern?
And
That
that's
is where
a
the
good
issue-
question.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
a good question, and I think there are some people that that we follow on Twitter that are in Congress that I really respect a lot. But ultimately, I guess getting back to this oil pipeline issue, I mean, in a time when the United States is internally in a lot of crisis, bringing more crisis to the world, or to the United States, I don't see personally as being wise. But you guys can, of course, make up your own minds.
Exactly. Yeah, because we just bring you the information and you guys decide, because you have your own perspective, you have your own thinking to figure out how it works. So, well, that's what we wanted to share with you, to let you know about this possibility of the shutting down of the Line 5 pipeline, which in my opinion, it's just going to make matters worse price-wise for the average citizens, because those prices are going to go up, because it's going to touch us on oil, the natural gas, propane, the heating energy, heating homes and so forth. And all that's going to trickle down into the mortgages. It's going to the food. It's going to take the clothing.
Of course. It is absolute, and it's going to add to inflation, because if, what powers farm equipment?
Yeah.
Oil.
Yeah, absolutely correct. And then we're going to be releasing tomorrow the video about when we talked with our guest about the inflation.
Absolutely.
And he was right on the mark. He was right. Apparently this is the reason why we wanted to share this information with you guys, because we're not here to sugarcoat it. We're not here to say it only if it sounds right or good or whatever, make you feel good, whatever. No, we don't do that. Why? Because we care. Because we are concerned, and we want the truth to prevail. So what's coming down the pipe, by the way? Do we have any?
So we just did on our membership, geopoliticsinconflict.com. David and Ross did a presentation doing a very deep dive into the hypersonic missile situation with China. And down the pipeline, not this week, but next week, we have a members presentation coming up about Vladimir Putin's friendship with China.
Oh, yeah.
And how complex that is. So if you're interested in that, check it out. It's a live Zoom. We do live Q&As at the end, and it's a much smaller pool of questions, because as you guys know, if you've been watching us for a while, we get thousands of questions and we can't answer them all. Although we would love to, we can't.
Well, I remember when we had the Q&A in the presentation for the members, when they were asking about UFOs and UAPs.
Yes.
UAPs is the unidentified aerial phenomenon. So we were talking a lot about that.
Yeah, and some people think that that's like out there, whatever, but it's not. It is officially reported on major news stations. So that is something that is actually really important to talk about.
Exactly. Well, we just want you guys we wanted to share this information. Of course, as we said last time, we're going to be doing this breaking news or break-ins, whatever you want to call it, on a regular basis. And because we want you to stay informed throughout the day. So
you know what? I actually wanted to bring up one more point
Sure.
about Biden's potential shutdown of this pipeline, because it's something that I've been sort of keeping an eye on, and that is, you know, when you do one thing and you say another thing. So, you know, with the Glasgow climate summit going on right now, you know, talking about, oh, we're going to go green. These are our promises. These are how we're going to do this. And so, yes, that would be the United States not bringing more oil and gas into the States from, you know, through this pipeline. So on paper, you can say, oh, look at all we've done.
oh yeah,
On the other side, begging OPEC for more so that they can take the responsibility for the oil and gas. They can take responsibility for that problem that causes climate change, and we look good
Mhm.
while not actually having done anything differently than putting the responsibility on somebody
that's
else.
true. Well, to me, it's humiliating to begin with when you have to beg OPEC Plus for oil. To me, that's, you know, a rich and wealthy nation like ours,
Yeah.
and we couldn't even figure out this issue, and we have the reserves. Go tap into it and do it
Yeah.
now. This is my word to the administration. If you are to do it now, not the next month, not 2 months from now. Do it now, because that's what American families are expecting. You know?
I personally do not see an urgency from the administration to sort of like, people see the problem.
Yeah.
You know, we see it coming, and instead of stopping the train before it hits the car on the track,
Yeah.
it feels like they're just saying, oh, the car will move, but it won't.
Yeah.
And you see the problem coming. So I feel that it is responsible to do something ahead of time.
Yeah.
But that is just my opinion.
Yeah, well, that's what we call in on the administration. If anybody from the administration watching this video, you know, release some from the reserves, the oil reserves, and relieve this price hike that American families are dealing with. So, well, as always, stay informed. Till next time. Bye-bye.